Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the People Success Circle podcast. I'm excited to have my new friend, Kate Pozeznik, on the call with us today. I actually met Kate through LinkedIn, and we're both in the career and HR world. And I just have been impressed with your content and your stance on things. And Kate, I just wanted to invite you to the show so we could share your expertise with my listeners.
Well, thank you so much, Mindy. I was absolutely delighted to be invited on. And I think this is one of my favorite topics to chat about. So I cannot wait to dive in and talk about personal branding and some of the
Yes,
other fun
yes.
things.
So, Kate, we both help people find jobs and excel in their career even after they find a job. And so much of that is personal branding. And to be
Mhm.
honest, with the invention of LinkedIn and technology, we know that this branding is here to stay. It's always been there in some way, but it's not going anywhere, right? Would you agree?
I would agree 100%. If anything, we're moving at an accelerated speed in that
Yeah.
direction where I think we're just going to see more and more reliance on having
Yes.
a digital footprint that is positive. I think it's really important.
Yeah. So tell me about your organization. You have a company called Quirk, and I would love to hear about its mission, what you do, and tell me how you help your clients with personal branding.
Yeah. Well, the business name itself, Quirk, was really inspired by my mission and vision for my organization, which is really to help people identify those things that make them unique and marketable and unusual in a
Yeah.
way that feels authentic to themselves and help set them up to achieve their version of personal and professional success. Now, I tend to work more frequently with women as I found not only in my personal experience in my own career, but if talking to lots of women, that women need a bit of a boost, particularly
Yes.
in areas around confidence. And so I became really inspired to create a firm that would cater to women who felt like they could come to me as they are and better learn what makes them special and strong and marketable to potential employers. And it's been really fun. And so it kind of was born out of necessity and has grown into to helping me live out a purpose to help others.
Yeah. I love that. So, Kate, you've been described as a confidence booster and a promoter of authenticity. Where does that come from? Where did you derive that interest in helping people with being authentic?
Well, it really stemmed from my own struggle with imposter syndrome. And this stems from being a small child on and thinking that I had to operate, live, and work in a specific way from whatever I was mirroring around me.
Yeah.
And I was always kind of the black sheep of the family. And so I never really felt confident because I never really felt like I could fully be myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that in order to be confident, you need to know yourself and what's
Yeah.
important to you. Because if you're trying to be something that you're not really, then you come across as nervous or
Yeah.
anxious or not fully invested. And so for me, when I had this realization and newfound confidence by identifying the things I knew I was good at, becoming
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with living in a unique way or one that was authentic to myself, I realized this is something that I want to help others do. And I
Yeah.
recognize just through conversations with my girlfriends, through interactions in the corporate world, through client conversations, that women in particular struggle with confidence building.
Mm.
And so that sort of became my niche is working with women or people that just feel like they need a little boost in general to move forward in their life and career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So, as you work with job seekers and you're helping them with their resume, probably their LinkedIn profile, where do you start with helping them think about their unique contributions and their personal branding?
Mhm. I like to get to know my clients. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll and not necessarily I ask them, what your favorite color is, what you like to do in your free
Yeah.
time, but it's a lot of like, what are your hobbies? What are the
Mm-hmm.
things that you like to fill your time with when you have free time? What are
Mhm.
the things that make you feel good when you're doing them? What are the things that you recognize that you're good
Yeah.
at? And
Yeah.
we start with conversations that help tease out what those strengths, unique
Mhm.
characteristics, even quirks are about that person, because all of those things collectively make us the individual, the special, marketable person that we are. And I
Yeah.
truly believe that there's an opportunity, a partner, a job out there that's in alignment with us, but
Mhm.
we can't be that person unless we are authentically ourselves and really understand what those qualities are. And I love being
Yeah.
able to tease those out of my clients before articulating those in written materials.
Yeah, for sure. And so one of the things I think too is just helping people realize what they bring to the table. I think so many people when they're in a job search are down on themselves, sad, maybe a little depressed, maybe
Yeah,
like you said, not having confidence. And so gosh, one of the
sure.
things I think we can do for job seekers is really help them to find their contribution, find their unique value that they bring because, sometimes it's hidden when you're in a job search and you're just not sure what it is. It's one of the things I like most about working with career clients.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting that I was just working with a client who was struggling to tell his story of working at the same organization for 23 years. And if you've
Right.
ever worked at an organization for 20 plus years or even 10 plus years and you're trying to get a new job, you know that it can be very difficult to articulate why you're ready for a new organization, how
Yes.
you've matured and progressed in your last career when you've worked for the same company.
Yeah.
But in his circumstance, he realized that one thing that had occurred when he was at this company is that it had been acquired and merged
Mm,
with other companies 5 times in the 23 years that he'd worked there.
wow.
And he became known as someone who is extremely versatile,
Yeah.
adaptable, who could pivot quickly. And we found that there were lots of different responsibilities that he took on outside of his typical realm of responsibilities that made him a more marketable employee. And we marketed
Yeah.
him as being a versatile, adaptable candidate. And
Yeah.
it not only made him feel more confident, he's like, okay, I know that I'm good at picking up new skills very quickly or learning a new technology when a merger takes place, at
Yeah.
keeping teams together when two companies merge. So, I think it's really thinking about what kind of conversations I have with my clients to really tease out those things that make us special. And sometimes we don't notice them about ourselves. It
Sure.
almost requires having someone on the outside who's
Yeah.
curious just to ask us questions about ourselves.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too because the mindset of a job seeker is often not one where we think of ourselves as good as we know that we are, to be
Right.
honest.
Right.
So when you think about personal branding, tell me how you think it impacts a job search and why it's so important.
Couple things about personal branding. First of all, it is insurance. It's not 911. It's something that you build. It's not something that you invest in last minute. And what I mean by this is when you build a personal brand, which you have, whether you think you do or not.
Yeah, we have one whether we want or to or not.
Exactly. And some of us choose to manage that personal brand and to some degree control what others see about us and learn about us. And some of us are still new to that concept or
Mhm.
opposed to it for one reason or another. But the reason that it's so critical to your job search or your career success in general is that it opens doors. It means
Yeah,
having a
it
strong
really does.
personal brand means that you attract opportunities you didn't apply for. It
Yes.
means that your former manager at a company 10 years ago remembers you when a new position comes up.
Yeah.
It's opening doors to other past speaking engagements or consulting work or even starting your own business. So, building a personal brand and maintaining one is something that's working behind the scenes all the time and that you can tap into not only in times of emergency, but also when things are going well, your personal brand can help you with opportunities.
Yes. So, as I mentioned, I'm launching networking school soon, and the tagline for that is be known for what you do best. And,
Yes.
known and remembered when you have that former supervisor who's like, I know just the person to help with this,
Yes.
right? And so it's
Absolutely.
being memorable and known, and so that people will say your name in a room, even if you're not there, right?
And being memorable, it's so fun that you say that. I am, and you can probably tell from my mannerism and high energy that I am not a shy person.
Right.
And so I think that when you allow your personality to come out, or even in certain circumstances, networking and even sometimes in initial interviews, to share little personal tidbits about yourself to
Mhm.
become relatable, but also to be memorable.
Yes.
Someone's going to remember that you were a salsa dancer. Someone's going to remember the person that
Yes.
does Ironman contests.
Yeah.
So those are interesting little things you can sprinkle in addition to what makes you credible and marketable as an employee, that will help people remember who you are and what you stand for.
I think that's totally true. We all hate the dreaded tell me about yourself question, but one of the things I teach my clients is you have to prepare for it. Whether you like the question or not, it's going to be asked the vast majority of times. But one of the things I teach my clients is to, certainly say a few things work wise that they're really known for and why they're interested in the job. And then to end with something like, and I'm a diehard Chicago Cubs fan,
Yeah.
right? Because right there, that one sentence makes everyone go, relax a little bit. And this guy's human, right? And so like you said, and I love salsa dancing on the weekends, and I love my family fosters kittens right now. So there's probably a chance I'll be talking about kittens before the end of the interview.
Yes.
When we can
Yes.
do that at the end of the tell me about yourself, I feel like everyone can take a big deep breath and be like, we're just having a conversation here.
Yes. We're both
Yeah.
humans.
Yeah.
We're finding things in common. And I give my clients the same advice, and in some cases I have them take it a step further, depending on what their hobby or personal interest is. If it's something like really lengthy trail marathon races or
Yeah.
something like that, I'll have them tie it into, and this interest has really helped me become a more disciplined person, which I've also
Yes.
realized has helped me become more disciplined in other areas of my life, including getting my
Yeah.
recent license certification for blah, 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 that's related to the job. So you can
Yes.
even tie in that personal interest to
Yep.
how it makes you an even stronger candidate for the job. Like, there's
Yeah.
magic to be done.
Yes, there is magic to be done. I love how you say that. And it's an intentional way to look human.
Yes.
And it just makes everybody feel better in the interview and memorable. Like you said, they're going to remember the candidate who is what do they call it? My nephew does this. He runs like 50-mile races, ultra marathon, I
Yeah.
think they're called. Yeah.
Yeah. That might be what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
something
races
like
are
that.
phenomenal.
Yes. And you're right, there are transferable skills.
That's the thing, like, if you are a tech startup and you've got someone who can run a race for 8 hours during a day, that they're not gonna buckle under pressure, and that's who you want in a startup. So, I think that's a good example of how
Yeah.
those things do reflect how you're going to behave potentially in a workplace.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you could even have like somebody who loves quilting and they're super detail oriented, right? So
Yes, yes.
I mean, personally, the idea of running even a 5K is hard for me, but like I can think of other hobbies that I have
Yes,
that would definitely
I'm like a
make me.
quilting side.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with the quilting side, or like I said, fostering kitten side. I'm a caring person. And
Yes,
I could relate that if I were applying for a job. So
I
when we
love
think of
that.
branding and its relation to networking, because we
Mhm.
know that networking is the number one way to find a job. And statistically it's down to 2% are finding a job by applying online. Yeah, it's very, very low. And so when we think about that, there's really two sides to networking, both LinkedIn, so virtual networking, and then in person networking. What advice
Mhm.
do you have for a job seeker in both of those areas?
Well, I'm always going to lead with be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean even down to your appearance to some degree.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you are appearing digitally or in person, I would represent myself in a way that was polished and professional, but also industry and role specific.
Mm-hmm.
That's, if you're going for a specific position, whether it's on a board or for a job, you want to portray the image of the position that you're trying to acquire. And then I would also, depending on what the person has to say or their comfort level with networking, I would say if they're shy and it's an in person event, perhaps consider taking a colleague or a friend along with you to sort of become a buffer. That can take the anxiety level down a little bit for people who aren't comfortable networking in person. And if you're online networking, I would say make the most of the opportunity when you are connecting with people. Either jot down their name immediately in a quick bullet point about what was memorable or the
Yeah.
thing you want to talk to them about later on a sticky note, or immediately connect with them on LinkedIn with a very brief, relevant message of how you met and why you might want to connect in the future.
Yeah.
So those are a few things I would recommend that are very foundational and basic, but can really make a difference in how you show up.
Yeah, for sure. Now, tell me about your thoughts on LinkedIn. How important is it to job seekers? And how important is it to someone's personal brand in general, even after they find a job?
It's pretty critical, both avenues. For one thing, if you Google your name,
Mm,
your LinkedIn profile is probably going to be one of the first few, if not the first entry of search results.
yeah.
And so, knowing that a very high percentage of employers are researching their candidates that they're interviewing are going to find your LinkedIn profile. If it is bare bones or doesn't
Mm,
even have a profile photo or doesn't have your last two jobs posted on it, which would
yeah.
not reflect what your current resume says, it's going to potentially give the image of not being up to date in other parts of your professional life, not being
Hmm.
polished, not being detail oriented. So I would say from that perspective and being searchable, that being the prominent page that's going to come up in search results, I would say it's incredibly important for a job seeker. But also
Yeah.
just in general, people, a lot of my clients are at a point in their career where they're looking for positions on prestigious boards. They're very competitive, whether they're paid or not. And so they need to stand out. And what LinkedIn is one way that they can do that. If you're not comfortable posting, then I would recommend commenting on other people's posts. If you're a job seeker,
Yeah.
start commenting on the company sponsored posts that are being there, because recruiters I'm pretty confident, I have to fact check this, but I'm pretty sure that recruiters have access or visibility into candidates' engagement with the company's social media posts.
Yes, they do if they have LinkedIn Recruiter. So if they pay for extra LinkedIn Recruiter, which most companies do, then yeah,
Right.
you can absolutely see if people are engaging, signing up for job alerts, all those things, right? So that part is huge. I also kind of think of LinkedIn like when I see somebody's profile who it's clear that it's old and dusty, or like I say, like a billboard that you're driving down the road and it's like peeling and you're not even sure if the business is open. But one of the things I think often is if there's somebody's profile is out of date, then I wonder how up to date they are with industry information, right?
Yes.
And industry
Yes.
connections. And
Yes.
so it's just for me, it's like a red flag of how are they getting their industry news? Because LinkedIn's a great way to do it, but also it's not the only way, but it's a great way. And then
It is.
how are they staying connected? Do they have a vibrant, relevant network? Or not. And it's just hard to tell if someone isn't up to date on LinkedIn.
Well, and and another thing to keep in mind with your engagement on LinkedIn, for those who don't really like to create their own content, those comments that you make on other posts, So keep that in mind that these are highly visible. They show up in your activity feed. So if someone goes
Yeah.
to your profile page, they can see your recent activity, including the comments that you've posted, which is great if you're making insightful comments, engaging with other people, and maybe not so great if you're a troll.
Yeah.
But the point is there are ways to engage on the platform that don't require you to shout from the rooftops if that's not your
Right.
thing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And really, even just sharing an article or just industry information or that you were at a conference, these
Yeah.
little things can show people that you're relevant, you're up to date, you're engaged, and especially like a board position you were mentioning. If someone's going for a board position, they have to have a thriving network, right?
Yes,
Because the board is
absolutely.
expected to network on behalf of the
Yes.
organization.
Yes,
Yeah.
excellent point. You're
Yeah,
absolutely
for
right.
sure. For sure. So what are some of the personal branding misses that you see people make?
Say one of the biggest one is, and we sort of touched on this earlier, is people just not knowing what they're good at and not recognizing, in some cases it's not recognizing the skills that are so finely tuned that they don't realize not everyone in their profession has that same skill set.
Yeah,
Some of
that's
us
a
that
good
have been
point.
in our professions for 20 years, we take for granted that we know how to do
Mhm.
certain things because we do them day in and day out. We could do them in our sleep.
Yeah.
And so I think helping people recognize what they're good at, first thing. The other miss is not being able to how to articulate what those things are. Once you know what they are,
Mm,
how do you market yourself in an authentic way that is compelling to whoever your audience is,
yeah.
regardless of whether it's a board of directors or it's a potential employer or if it's an organization you want to do a speaking engagement at?
Yeah. Yep. I think that that is really valuable, right? They not only recognizing, but being able to communicate what their unique contribution is. Yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So we live in a digital, noisy world. How can someone ensure that their brand narrative really cuts through the clutter and connects online?
Yes. The key here is not to be the loudest in the room. The
Mm,
key is to play the slow and steady race. Be
okay.
consistent, be regular, be authentic. For one thing, it's exhausting to be the loudest person in the room all the time. It's not
It really,
sustainable.
yeah.
And in a lot of cases, it's annoying, especially if you're not irrelevant and you're just posting to post. It can come
Hmm.
across as insincere or irrelevant if you cast too broad of a net on the topics that you talk about.
Yeah.
So I would say being very consistent is key, being authentic and in being consistent. I often advise my clients to find a method of engaging that feels comfortable and authentic to them.
Hmm.
I like getting in front of a camera. I mind hamming it up. I like
Yeah.
showing my personality in that way, but not everyone feels that way. So write a
Hmm.
blog article or host a workshop online. There are lots of different ways that you can articulate your message
Hmm.
without having to be the most prominent voice in the area.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many free ways to do it. Like you said, the things you mentioned are free, but even writing like a weekly newsletter or sharing an article, all of those things can help you share your expertise and show that you're staying up to date and relevant and that really that you're an industry leader because oftentimes that's what it takes to land a job.
Yes, and there's so many creative ideas you can come up with. You could do a day in the life of an accountant. You could do here's a happy client testimonial, which not only makes you look good and credible at your job, but also is a positive reflection of the company you work for. So it is a
Yeah.
win-win all around. So
Yeah.
if you start thinking very strategically about things that interest you, that align with the mission and values and guiding principles of either your employer or potential employer, you
Mhm.
can really kill two birds with one stone here.
Yeah.
So, there's not too many hard and fast rules with branding. You can be very creative. If you're authentic and consistent, the right people will find you. The people
Yes.
that don't listen are not your people, and that is
Yeah.
okay. That's part of
And
life.
that is totally okay. I often say sometimes when I post on socials, it's to remind my current network that I exist.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Yes.
mean, instead of like looking for new people, it's just to remind people, oh, yeah, hey, Mindy does this. Mindy speaks. Mindy does this. And so if I'm totally quiet for a long time, then I think I'm not as memorable. Right. And
Yes.
so if anything, it's just to remind people what you do and what you contribute in a way that helps them, again, remember you in a room that you might
And
not
this
be in.
is and this is you're absolutely right. And this is not just critical or a benefit for job seekers. This is good for anybody. There could
Yes.
be an opportunity. You may not even be looking for a job, but the opportunity of a lifetime could drop into your lap because someone saw your recent post
Yeah.
commenting on an article in the an industry article. So
Yes.
and again, this is why I was saying personal branding as insurance, not 911. This is something that
Hmm.
you are constantly working on, constantly evolving to some degree,
Yeah.
um, to align with your goals and your mission.
Yeah. So when I think about that, it needs to go beyond your job search, right? Because when
Yes.
people like go quiet on LinkedIn or they go quiet just even with in-person networking for a long time and then they need their network, they're reviving something versus,
Yes.
in like you said, like a 911. Oh my gosh, I need my network, right? And then on the flip side, it's when they're nurturing their network over time
Yes.
their network's gonna be there for them, and you don't have to take that time to rekindle it, which I think is really important.
It's huge. It's huge. It's something that I advise, and I don't know how many people actually follow it, but I advise that you just put time on your calendar, weekly or bi-weekly, even if it's 30 minutes, where
Mhm.
you are engaging in some way on
Yeah.
LinkedIn or another professional social media platform so that people don't forget who you are, because it is
Yeah.
critical, and having to ask last minute feels rushed. It puts
Mm.
people on the spot and
Mhm.
can also put them in a time crunch if, and it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be that way, but if you've always
Right.
remained top of mind, if you've always, sent a quick note when you came across an article that reminded you of someone and sent it, just do it. You don't even have to write a long note. Say, hey, saw
Yeah.
this, thought of you, here you go.
Right.
Someone's birthday pops up in my Facebook feed, a client, I'll send them a quick text.
Yeah.
Networking doesn't have to be professional all the time. It
Right.
doesn't have to feel like work. It can be checking in on someone. It can be saying, "Hey,
Mhm.
I just saw you got a new job. Great job. Can't wait to hear
Yeah.
all about it." So it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be this huge ordeal. Make it something that you look forward to and can celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think that just feels more authentic too, for sure. Can you think of a time or a past customer that you've had or a past client where they've just done a really good job at their personal brand and you've seen it help them in their career?
Yes. Yes. I worked with a woman who was a business owner for a very long time and
Mhm.
had recently become a single mother, was living with her parents and her 2 children after escaping an unsafe marriage. And
Mm.
so I helped her, first of all, determine what kind of salary she needed, what kind of lifestyle and schedule she needed to be a single mom now.
Yeah.
And then identify what are the transferable skills that she had that she could take from her being a business owner into the next career. And then we explored what are different options that she could pursue. And for her, she wanted to be an event manager. And she did have
Okay.
some experience, but we really aligned her resume, LinkedIn, and cover letter to be cohesive and have a message that was directly aligned with the mission and guiding principles of her dream employer,
Mm.
which is a prestigious university. Now she ended up
Okay.
getting this event management job at this university, which doubled her salary. Gave her the ability to move out on her own with her 2 children to support them without child support or any other
Mm.
income. And because she landed a job with a prestigious university, she has a recognizable brand on her resume and years of experience under her belt, where now when she goes to job search,
Yeah.
she's going to have the upper hand when she goes to look for her next position.
Yeah. For
So I
sure.
was
For sure.
so proud of her having this massive achievement. Like, I felt like I was able to give her the tools, but she ran with it. Like, she understood how important it was to build and nourish this personal brand of hers, and she made it work for her. And she's so happy in her job. Like, I watch her on Facebook, and she's
Yeah.
posts all these great pictures and all the events that she's doing. So that's one of my proudest moments, probably as a career coach, and a testament to the power of personal branding.
Yeah, for sure. I love that story. I love it. So, Kate, this has been super helpful. And I want to wrap it up with a final question. And that
Okay.
is, you really emphasize helping people realize their version of success, not just pursue it, but really dream of, like you just said, that ideal employer or that ideal job. And I think that's a really unique contribution that you bring to your clients is don't just apply for a job because there's a job opening, but really think about if it aligns to the vision of your future. So tell me about that. And how do you help people find that? How do you help people embody that vision for what their future could be?
This was really born out of my own personal experience as well, because everyone has a unique version of success. And for a long time, I thought my version of success was a corporate career, earning a VP title and a six-figure salary.
Mm,
I learned that there were other things that I needed to prioritize to feel fulfilled and
yeah.
satisfied and successful in my life. And for me, it meant freedom
Mm,
in when and where I work, how I work, who I work
hmm.
with, and the power to have an income that would allow me to travel comfortably when I wanted to.
Yeah.
So everyone's version of success is very different. For one person, it could be climbing up the corporate ladder and then leaving a legacy, a professional legacy by serving on an unpaid board position at an organization or nonprofit.
Hmm.
So I really help people understand that you need to determine what your version of success is. Is it time? Is it freedom? Is it options? Is it money? And all of
Mm,
those things are okay.
yeah.
Whatever yours are okay, but you need to know what those things are and then be okay with knowing that it's okay to pursue those things. And so I think that, using your personal brand or building and nurturing your personal brand can help you achieve what that unique version of success is, because it's uniquely aligned to your personal core values. So
Yeah.
it all ties
Yeah.
together.
It really does. It really does. And I just really appreciate you sharing your insight on this and just helping job seekers understand the importance of personal brand. That job seeking is way more than just opening up LinkedIn, seeing what the new jobs are posted from yesterday and applying
Yeah.
online. There's just
Yep.
so much more to it that really helps people not only get hired, but then have a thriving career once they're in their job.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity and wonderful conversation. It was very engaging on a topic that I can tell we're both really enthusiastic and
Yes.
passionate about. And I hope that some of the gems that we discussed this afternoon are going to inspire someone out there to start working on their personal brand a little bit more.
Yes, I totally agree. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the People Success Circle podcast. If anything in this episode resonated with you, please leave us a 5-star review and share this episode with a friend who might be looking for a job or someone who might be trying to grow their career, because personal branding is something that's not going anywhere. It's key to career success. If you'd like to get in touch with Kate, you can find her information in the show notes, including her LinkedIn profile, so that you can connect with her there. And we'll see you next week on the next episode of the People Success Circle.